We can go ahead and start.
We call this meeting to order at 6:03. First order of business, any citizens' communication?
I don't have any, no.
Okay. Did everyone have a chance to look over last month's minutes?
That's fine.
And do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for last month.
And a second?
Second.
Motion approved. Okay, and the Friends of the Library report.
First, I wanted to introduce our guests. We have Clara and Sylvia. Sylvia is working on a citizenship and community badge, correct? So they will be observing us today. Friends of the Library, they have a book sale that they're working on, which will be held on August the 11th, and it will be in the Great Hall here. Other than that, business as usual. They encourage anybody on the board who's interested in joining the Friends to go ahead and do so. They're looking for some new members. They continue to support the library's programming, financially support it. So many of the activities that you see around the library have been sponsored by the Friends of the Library, and it'll usually indicate on the advertising that they have sponsored that.
When is their next meeting and how often do they meet?
They meet the third Tuesday of the month at 4 o'clock.
Any other questions?
Oh, yes. How does the, it's called the Friends of the Library? Friends of the Library, how do they raise funds? Do they have like fundraising events or is it tax dollars?
They do a used book sale, so often those are donations from the public. Sometimes it's stuff that we are weeding out of the collection, so we're not going to use it anymore. They do those quarterly, so 4 times a year, and they then use that money to support programs at the library. They also take donations from individuals, and there's a membership dues fee that also goes towards support.
And the director's report.
Okay. All right, so you'll see that there's a lot more numbers this time around on the director's report. What I did was I put in pre-COVID stats so that we can start making a comparison between where we're at now and where we were in 2019. Because we're still down, but we're climbing, so that's good. And especially if you make the comparison between now and last year. We actually opened up again in June of 2021. But those stats are all going to be really low for that year because we were still limited on our programming. But now we're back into the swing of things, so I think it's a good time to start taking a look at those numbers in comparison to 2019. And you will see that as far as circulation goes, our electronic circulation went through the roof, obviously, during the pandemic, and it stayed there. So people love it now that they're used to it. That does not mean that physical stuff will ever be going away. But we do look closely at those numbers because we then want to look at our budget numbers and make sure that we are budgeting enough for those two types of resources. So I did that, and we are. Our physical circulation right now is still about 7% higher than the electronic, and our budget for those materials is about 9% higher than the electronic. So it's very, very close. But those physical materials also include some things that are kind of expensive, and next year it will include things like the laptops and the hotspots that we're circulating. Right now those come out of our operating budget, but they really should be coming from the collection budget because they're items that we loan to the community. In-house computer use is still down. We still have fewer than usual computers out. We have not put the rest of them out simply because they're not being used as much as they were. People mostly are using their own devices. If you walk around the library, you see a lot of people at tables with laptops. So we're kind of rethinking that, and that may be something to look at in our 5-year plan. Do we continue with a traditional public computer space, or are we going to start looking at maybe switching from the desktop public computers to all laptop public computers, and then people can go find a spot in the library and sit down with it if they want to. So they're not limited to that one space. And also that would free up square footage for us to, expand some other things in the library that needs expanding. But that's something that we should probably think about when we are discussing the 5-year plan. Library visits are going up. Maker Fest was our first really big program since 2019, and that went very well. And we are back to our regular summer craft and cooking, etc. And if you haven't looked at it, our head of youth services wrote an article for the Flag regarding summer learning. The library staff, the professional librarians, write articles for the Pflugerville Flag once a month, so you can catch up on any library-related stuff. And that's all I have. Anybody have any questions? Do you have any questions? Okay.
I got a question.
All
Can
right.
we get an update next month on the summer reading program specifically, and
Certainly.
find out how that's going this year? I got a soft spot for the summer reading program.
There are no other questions. Moving on to discuss and consider action, reviewing the 24-25 5-year plan.
Okay, so you guys had asked that I make a sort of comparison chart of what we're planning for our fiscal year 24 and fiscal year 25, and and how that fits in with the Aspire 2040, which is the city's larger strategic plan. So I did that, and if you want to take a look at that, I took into some of the things that you guys had mentioned. Again, we looked at what people wanted based on survey results, and the equity commissions had a couple of asks, and you guys had some suggestions, so I put those in there. And then right next to those, I put the corresponding goal for Aspire 2040. Daniel did a great job on when he was helping out with Aspire 2040 on the library part of it. So I think it all flows very well together and fits together. I'll give you guys a chance to look that over.
Speaking of surveys, have we put out the first survey?
We put those out generally at the end of the summer, and I just today sent them to our webmaster, so she should be getting those out shortly. Some of the things that were different, and directly based on some of the discussions that we've had. If you look, I should have numbered these pages, I knew it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, page 5, under materials, and it's a second line on the table. We are looking at, and this is going to be, again, largely dependent on whether or not we get that needs assessment and what they have to say, but thinking more abstractly, I guess, or just, I hate saying out of the box, it's such a tired phrase, but thinking about having a library presence in other parts of the city that are not necessarily brick and mortar. Not that we wouldn't do that also, but there are other ways that we can reach the community. If the needs assessment comes back and says, well, you just need to expand this building, well, that's great, but how do we meet the needs of the people over in Black Hawk and Falcon Point? So some of the things that we could be thinking about are like a storefront library. We could be thinking about the book lockers and the vending machines, which I personally love. But, so that, under the materials, in Aspire 2040, we say, look at those options, and I know that's something that we had discussed. I am open to hearing any other ideas that people have about having a library presence elsewhere in the community. I'm trying to think. It could be even, well, I don't know if I could do that, but, so I'll shut up about that, because I'll have to check about my idea. But different ways that we can reach people. There's been talk about a bookmobile, which I think is not a bad idea. People love it. My only concern with that is people would have to learn the route and everything. It's not something that's always going to be in the same place at the same time. I guess it could be. I don't know. So yeah, I guess it could be. But anyway, those are some considerations that we should be thinking about. When we get that needs assessment back, and hopefully moving forward, we will form a facilities committee and start thinking about, like, working with not just people from the library board, but working with staff and maybe staff from other departments on getting a facilities plan together that would be a framework going forward for the next 10 or 15 or 20 years, with full knowledge that it will probably be changed and tweaked during that time, but getting something down on paper about where we see the community growing and the needs of the community. So.
Now, when you mentioned storefront, were you thinking like a library-specific storefront, or partnering with like a local business and sharing a space?
It could be either, I think. I don't know about what all the little ins and outs about mixing municipality with a retail establishment. Off the top of my head, I don't think it would be something we couldn't do, but that's one of the things I would have to get with people in the know to see if that's doable. But it's a great idea.
Another option, if you can't connect with stores, is most of the HOAs, most of the neighborhoods have a clubhouse. For example, the one at Blackhawk has like several different rooms in it. If they wanted to sponsor, like maybe a volunteer or HOA representative that's there on the weekends for like 4 hours or something like that, or like 2 hours a day, maybe somebody that's retired, you can come and check out books from the clubhouse, and the library can take like 30 boxes of books over there and whatnot and fill up some shelves and just have like a tiny little library room.
It's definitely an idea.
Those communities have space that they can use.
Yeah. And I like the ideas. That's just something that I need to figure out what the parameters I can use to work within on those things.
And it comes with advertising, because we're in the commons, and so we have our community center, and we've got a point of contact, Miss Sherry Scales. She sends notes out to everybody, and we host things there.
Could have even had the scouts volunteer to man
That's
the
an
library.
Absolutely.
Actually, that's a great idea, and I'd like to expand it a little bit more, so just a little bit of an idea, I suppose, and tell me if this is like too outlandish or it doesn't really make sense given context. Is there any way that we can coalesce Friends of the Library with maybe local school system libraries to help support student-run businesses? Because speaking from someone, I used to be in this thing called Flex, and Flex was an old tradition. And what would pass down is we used to have this business day where we'd have a fundraiser event. Maybe you could have your own summer fundraising event from student-led businesses, or something to raise funds for, maybe those ideas that lead on to, the clubhouses or anything like that. Because I also ran a business, I was a CEO, and I raised $1,000 and even more donations to the Trevor Project. So it could be it can be very, very beneficial, not only for the local, for the local youth business, for the library, but even for charities.
Yeah, no, I like the idea. I really like the idea of having younger people working with the Friends of the Library and getting them interested in the library. We also have a library liaison position to the board. I'm just throwing that out there. And They are appointed to the board during their high school years, and they act as a liaison between the board and their high school. So that might be something you guys would be interested in. But yeah, I love it. All right, great ideas, people. Okay, so let's go through fiscal year '24 and fiscal year '25. All right. I know you guys told me to number the pages last time, and then I just flat didn't. We're gonna go through it. So the facility, that's nothing new. We're gonna continue to maintain this facility. I feel very strongly that even if we were to get a branch or a location elsewhere, and have this as either the main branch or the secondary branch, I feel very strongly that this building needs to be as nice and as perfect as whatever new building we get. Because we don't want to create that sort of, division of goods or division of how we value our spaces. So that's very important. Then again, the needs assessment may come back and say you need another building in a completely different part of town, and this building would be turned over for other municipal activities. And that would be a completely different scenario. But
I don't think
it
you're
could
gonna be able to avoid that stigma because this will always be the old library.
I don't mind it being the old library. I want it to be the nice, clean, great condition, just as much good stuff as the new library. I don't want people on this side of town to be slighted. I want everybody to have the same. So we talked about designing and begin the design and planning for a new building. That's going to be the needs assessment and creating a facilities committee. Working with other city departments to help preserve historically important buildings and sites in the surrounding area. We have Heritage House, which Daniel is managing right now, and we did quite a bit of restoration on it a couple of years ago, but then it sat for 2 years during the pandemic, and I have an old house. My house is 120 years old. You can't let stuff sit. So we have some repairs to make to that house, and that's coming in fiscal year '23, as we have discussed, in fiscal year '24. And it's going to include completely redoing the porch, which is rotting down, if it needs it, a roof replacement, et cetera, painting the entire thing. So we want to preserve that, but there's other historically significant areas of Pflugerville, the historic colored edition and the cemetery also. We've been working with Black Pflugerville and at least try to capture the history. So if you look at our digital archive, we now have a Black history, I don't know what to call it. Collection. Thank you, Daniel. We have a Black history collection in there now, and that is growing every day. I get more stuff, and so that's amazing. But also documenting which is part of the preserving of the history of Pflugerville, documenting the people that bought the land there, that lived there, that died there, that are buried there. So we're doing all of that, and we're going to continue to do that.
Questions?
That repairing the Heritage House. So as a scout, I feel like it could be incredibly beneficial just to save, like city funds. If you want to perhaps delegate some of the work to Troop 154, we function in Round Rock, but it would be perfectly fine for us to just drive over here, and maybe it could be a small service project for us, and we'd love to have more service hours and help. So.
Okay, you're gonna regret saying I got lots of stuff. Okay, perfect. If you guys want to give me your contact information before you go today, that would be great. Create a facilities plan we discussed. Before I go plowing through this, anybody have any other questions? Did you have anything?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right then. Materials. So we're going to continue, of course, collecting physical and electronic resources for the community. We just got accredited again today. I got the notice that we've been accredited, so that's good. basically, we have to send a report to the state library every year in order to meet accreditation standards. Their standards are, it depends on what level you're aiming on, but they have basic, enhanced and exemplary standards. We aim for exemplary standards, so we're hitting the mark. The only thing that we're always behind on, and every library is, it's not just us, is the number of items in their collection. So we're trying to beef that up a little. I'm still waiting on shelving parts. It's been like 6 months. I'm still waiting on them because everything seems to be crazy right now. But we are going to expand those collections. We're also always looking at different formats or different delivery methods for materials to the community, and we're going to continue to do that.
Can I ask a question on the materials?
Sure.
On expanding the materials, is there a way for people to electronically request addition of certain titles? Because the only way I know to do it is like to tell the lady at the desk.
You
But
can.
I don't think people really know how to say, we need more Jedi Academy, or we need more of this.
You can,
easily.
and that's a great point. I think we actually had discussed this about doing little how-to videos, how do you request something online? You can go into your account when you're in the catalog, and it'll say, is the library missing something? You can reserve or request something. And so then it goes into our system, and if the item is something that's fairly old, something that maybe we wouldn't purchase, then we'll borrow it from another library and have it brought over. Usually that's gonna be things that are more like textbooks and stuff like that, that we just don't carry. Or we will order it. If it's popular and meets all the collection standards, then we'll order it and just purchase
Do you
it.
have like a software that tracks all of the requests and say, 20 people have requested this series this week and we only have one for all these kids to share? Does it keep track of what's being requested and the need status?
It doesn't, but the interlibrary loan and the library programmers do. They keep spreadsheets on it. We desperately need better software, but we're working towards that. But it is tracked. It's just not automatically tracked by our integrated library
It'd
system.
be nice if it did it for you.
It would be. And it's something that I can ask them to do. They have been pretty receptive in the past when we've given them information, our customers would love X, Y, Z, and then we don't hear back from them. Then a month later, they're like, boom, here it is. So it's absolutely something I can request and will.
Maybe that's something that could be shared on social media with
Mm-hmm.
moms like me who have been coming here 8 years and I still don't even know how to do that.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I think that's the one thing that always keeps us kind of going back to Round Rock Library a lot of times, is just the selection is bigger and we strike out. But if I knew there was a way I could click a button and rather than just being on a wait list to pick up a hold, to actually request, maybe we can buy more of these, or
Yeah.
that would be awesome.
We also look at the holds, and when it gets to a number of holds, then we purchase another copy. But generally, they're just on hold again because
Yeah.
we have so many people. But yes, I will talk to them about that, and I think it's a great idea to put it out on social media. The how-tos.
Excuse me.
Uh-huh.
So, excuse me if this sounds a little bit rude. I don't mean it to be, but I've browsed on the website, and while it does have everything that you need to feasibly access it and go through it, I feel like maybe it's not the smoothest functioning website, and I feel like perhaps contracting someone in UX design or experience and possibly advanced HTML could have some sort of help in this.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, is it the catalog itself where you go in and search for items, or is it the whole library website?
I think it's the library website.
Okay. I will pass that along to our webmaster, it's through the city, so I don't have a lot of control over that, but I'd certainly pass it along.
They gotta follow certain standards that all the cities got to kind of feel the same.
We do have more control, I think. Well, not over how it looks, but I have more of a direct contact with like the catalog that I can, because it's not something that's hosted on the city's website. Okay, any other input or questions? Marketing and programming, we still work with the city's communication team. As I've talked to you guys before, I am requesting a outreach and marketing person in the fiscal year 23 budget. Of course, the budget has not been approved yet, so that may or may not happen. We are losing one of our librarians. She's going to Cedar Park, and she did quite a bit of the design and the marketing for us. So that's going to be, it's going to be bad losing her. I'm not going to lie, she's awesome. But we have other people on staff who are also talented, so I will be tapping them until we can get that position filled, hopefully next year. If not next year, maybe the following year. But we'll continue. Continue to develop partnerships with other institutions. We are doing that. We are going to have I have to write myself a note, the school library lunch here in August, so I need to get you guys that date if it's been set yet. We're always looking for and applying for grants. The only thing with grants that I've noticed is there aren't a lot of grants in Texas for building projects. So if I wanted to renovate a room and, I'll go find a grant to help me do that. There's not a lot of them. There's more for small and rural libraries, but we're 70-odd thousand people now, so we wouldn't fit into that category. We're a medium-sized library in a medium-sized community. These grants that we are able to apply for are largely going to be materials grants. So it would be to buy materials for a particular collection. The last one that we got was Texas Book Festival, and that grant was used to enhance our adult graphic novel area, which is new, and it looks amazing. But we continue to look. We also look in areas that are maybe not traditionally library grants, but could be, like we would still qualify for those grants. We did that with the electric vehicle chargers, which allegedly are going to be installed this month. And that was, we had to look outside the library environment for a grant to take care of that, and we did find one, so. All right. We continue to provide services to underserved populations. Like I've mentioned before, we intend to work with the GIS department to identify areas in the city that we're not reaching people, so we can sort of focus our outreach into those areas. Programs and services will continue. Staffing, I think this is the year that I put in, maybe not. Maybe I didn't, but I am asking for more staff in the next fiscal year, and depending on the needs assessment and where we're at with the RFID project and everything, I may be asking for more staff again in fiscal year 25. We kind of always worked short, not having enough staff around, so I'd like to increase that.
Excuse me?
Uh-huh.
What is the requirements to be a staff member?
You could volunteer at age 16 and up. So there's that. I do have, occasionally I'll have a part-time position. I do ask that people applying be 18 and up because we're dealing with the public, and sometimes they can be a lot to handle. So, but we have had employees that went from volunteering and then were able to get a part-time job here and then move on to a full-time job here. So full-time jobs are more rare, and librarian jobs are very rare here, although we do have an opening coming up for a librarian. But,
Just one question about filling positions. Where do you traditionally advertise positions?
the city has a job site that they post on. So generally there, if it is a position that requires a master's degree, one of the librarian positions, then it would be advertised with the Texas Library Association, American Library Association, University of Texas, all the library schools, plus on the city site. So,
Have you been satisfied with that?
yes, actually, there are, that part-time job that we have posted right now, last time I looked, which was today, there were 56 applicants. And I'm always so impressed with the people that apply. So, yeah, I'm happy with that. I'll let you know about the rest of the rest of the postings when we get those out. But really good candidates. I don't think, and Daniel can correct me, I don't think we've had a batch of candidates in years that we were just like, nope, none of these. You know, where there's always really good people. Staffing. So I also have told you guys this before, but I'm a huge believer in continuing education, especially for the staff. I think it helps not only the organization that they're in now, but it's going to help them later in their careers. So we do ask for quite a bit of continuing education for our staff. Right now, they're working on a core course on homeless people in the library, how to diffuse the situation, how to serve that population, et cetera. So they're working on that right now, but they do other things also. They go to book repair classes to learn how to repair the library materials when they come back damaged. They go to training on programs. Our library programmers often will go to trainings on that, but they also do the trainings for other librarians, so I'm very proud of them for that.
Excuse me, so I kind of do worry about the homeless population and the fact that you were mentioning, and I wonder, you mean taking away, or possibly in the next 5 years, transforming or not transforming, selling the computers instead of buying laptops for everyone? Or like public laptops? Or
No, what I was talking about was, you know how we have our computers and they're kind of in pods and people have to sit in a certain area?
Yeah.
What would happen is the people could come in and request a laptop and then go sit wherever they want to in the library.
Gotcha.
They just don't have to be tied to that one spot.
Cool. I was just worrying about the homeless population.
No,
but
we
that's-
worry about our homeless population too. Yeah, we love them.
Have there been any, not knowing, I have to ask you, have there been any overtures from staff about telecommuting or teleworking?
We're pretty flexible with that. If somebody needs to work from home because they're sick, or their kid's sick, or their dog's sick, or something, we absolutely have things that they can do from home and flex. It's a lot harder for us to offer that on a permanent basis because of the nature of the work that we do. So when we can, yes, because they can do their continuing education from there. They can they can process applications from there and that sort of thing. But we still have to be face to face with the public. So it's not something I can say, Amanda gets to work from home henceforth. It's not possible.
Well, the reason I ask is because during the pandemic, everybody was talking about this being the new next thing. And the city is thinking about building a new facility down there across from HEB. And have they had any thoughts on telecommuting for city employees? including
There
librarians?
are some departments where people can telecommute. I don't really I'm not really privy to all the ins and outs of that, but I can tell you that, yeah, some people do work from home, other people don't. It's just more difficult when you're public facing, when you're serving the public
Right.
in person, and a lot more departments have that than I thought, like Public Works, they need to have somebody there sometimes, and utility billing, and this and that and the other. So I can't speak for them. I can only speak for the library. We do what we can to accommodate people, but because we serve the public directly, I do need to have staff here. Okay, so continue to explore new information delivery systems. We talked about that. That would be tied up with the book lockers, vending machines, bookmobile, whatever we decide on. We continuously replace the staff computers as they wear out. And that actually does not come out of our budget. That comes out of the IT budget. The only time it comes out of our budget is when we hire a new person and we initially have to purchase the equipment for them. And then after that, it goes into the rotation. Again, we talked about the public computers. We replace those as needed. We've worked it out with our IT department that once a staff computer is no longer needed, it gets wiped and it becomes a computer that we can use for the public. But again, that we may change that. It may be laptops, I don't know. We will continue to provide toolkits, et cetera. IT is working on a technology plan for the entire library, so we're gonna work with them on it. Not just the entire library, sorry, the entire city. And we will work with them on it about what our needs are and what we anticipate our needs will be in the future.
Do we have any resources or like information accessible to patrons about their expectations of privacy when searching or using technology in the library?
We have on our catalog, it says the library contracts with third-party vendors to provide these electronic services. Make sure that if you have a concern that you read the privacy policies. It's a very good idea, though. We don't have one posted here. It is in our policies that say, we do what we can to protect your information as far as using your phone here or using your laptop here, but it is still a public space and things happen. But we do have as many safeguards in place as we can possibly do and still provide the service. I would say that the Wi-Fi service here is probably as safe as the one you have at home. It's actually the same thing, it's suddenly. So, but that's a good idea. We don't have it posted, but I could see that being something maybe to put on the computer tables or, yeah. All right.
Regarding the thought of transitioning from a desktop computer to laptops, I really like that idea from a space-saving perspective, but would that then require an entire new security system so they're not walking out of here?
It would if we weren't going to do the RFID project. It's radio frequency identification, which we're going to do. So it will let us know if somebody's trying to walk out the door with a laptop.
Or from somebody walking around dropping it.
Oh yeah, that could happen too.
It will with teenagers and, no offense, and kids. It will happen.
That is definitely something to think
So
about.
maybe there's also
yeah.
a thought of using laptops, but having them fixed in certain places, so it would still be saving the space, but without the risk of having to monitor them walking out of here or being dropped or damaged.
No, it's definitely something to consider. I've seen some libraries have these laptop vending machines, and they come out, and it looks kind of like they're in a case. I haven't looked into it that far to know if that's a case in case somebody drops it, or if that's a security case to prevent them. Like maybe that's where the RFID is. But definitely, I will look into that. There are other libraries that loan them, so I will ask, because librarians talk.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of, even my son is gonna be a second grader this year, and that's the year everybody gets a laptop in the whole school. And, I mean, we have to sign up for an insurance program and all this, because kids inevitably will
That's true.
figure out a way to ruin it.
That is true. And maybe it's something, and this is why I love the input from you guys, maybe this is something that, we don't do like a scorched earth, no public computers, just laptops. Maybe adults will have that option if they want to use the laptop, and teens could have that option, but the little bitties still just have their desktops.
And maybe a waiver, I know like at some libraries, if you check out like robot kits and stuff like that, like you have to sign a damage waiver that I think seems silly, but sometimes it does kind of encourage people to be a little more careful if they know I'm gonna have to pay $500 for this if it's returned broken. I don't know,
Yeah.
something.
No, I can definitely see the benefit to that, for sure.
And it could be a combination. I mean, you assess, like offer both options and then assess and see if it's working before, but it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be mutually exclusive.
Yes, that's a good idea. Don't burn your bridge before you figure out if it's gonna work. And then, evaluation, where I looked at this in a couple of ways as far as evaluation and review goes. I looked at it as, evaluating our services and our facility, but also evaluating ourselves and our policies and our staff. So, I know that policies are really boring, but I'm still a big advocate of looking at policies every year, because we want to make sure that we're providing the best service that we can. So that's coming up, yay, mark your calendars. We get reviewed by a lot of different entities, so we report to the state library and we report to the Public Library Association. So we keep this information because we know it's coming, we're gonna have to report it. And as I was saying about accreditation, that's how we get accredited. And the benefit of being an accredited public library is that you are then eligible to apply for state grants or discounts or whatever. If you're not accredited, you don't get to do that. And professional standards,
I
yes.
have a question before you go on there.
Sure.
I'm trying to closely read the, what they're called, the goals. And where would a review of outreach fall under any of these? Outreach or underserved communities, or would that fall under any of these?
It would, I would put it under evaluation and review, but let me see if there's a better spot for it. Do you have any thoughts, Daniel? Oh, marketing and programming too. It could actually go under either of
Yeah,
those.
either one, but
Yeah.
it just, I want to see if it fit under the ones, and I wasn't aware, or if it should be added.
Right now, I keep the outreach statistics under our programming. So my inclination would be to leave it in that area, but I'm not married to that, if y'all have.
Well, the reason being is, the third one says review promotion of library programs and services, but it says review promotion of. It doesn't say review those programs and services.
Yeah, I would then put it under programming. And that's an easy thing for me to add because we do.
I figured it would be,
Yeah.
but I
We
didn't.
keep that information, we do look at it, it just doesn't happen to be in the report, but I can definitely add it, and I think it's a good thing to add.
Well, it's just
Yeah.
a good faith effort to tell the public that we do look
Yeah.
at this. It just doesn't go on paper.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. I think sometimes that we get caught up in just assuming that everybody knows everything about libraries, and we're like, oh, they'll know. But, we're looking at it from a very skewed perspective here, so. So that is it and how it fits under the different goals, the larger goals of Aspire 2040. Does anybody have any more questions or comments?
So next year, when we do this, it'll have 25, 26?
Next month, when we do this, you'll have 26 and 27, because it's a 5-year plan.
Oh, that's right, yeah, okay.
And,
So-
yes, so you get 26 and 27 next year. It gets thinner as you go further out, because, it's a lot harder to be really specific, when you're thinking 5 years from now.
Yes, it is.
You don't have a functioning crystal ball.
I don't, but I'll budget for that.
You have to invest.
Sorry to ask one more question.
No, that's
But
what-
the reviewing and evaluating operating hours, what process are you using and how is that tied to your need to find more people? And what are your
That is an
thoughts?
excellent question. I think we should yearly review our hours. Do we need to expand those hours out? And if we do, that is gonna require more staff. So that would give people more of an opportunity to use the library. Some libraries are open till 9. We actually used to be open till 9. And then somewhere along the way, we weren't. But it's definitely something, I mean, it's been, how long we've been in this library, this part of the library, like 10 years? So it's time for us to look and see, do we need to expand our hours on the weekends? Do we need to expand them during the week?
Earlier, 9 a.m.?
9 a.m.?
Which begs another question. We haven't talked about it in a while, but we went through developing a policy for using these rooms. Is the usage of those rooms continuing on par with pre-development of those policies, or is it discouraging people? I'm
It
just
is
curious.
not, but I don't think that is because of the policies.
No, I don't think so either. I think it's,
because of we now charge for them.
yeah.
And that was a request from the city that we do that. So yeah, the use is a lot more manageable right now because we charge for it. And it has declined some, because we charge for it, so. But that was something we expected would happen, so.
How confident are you about this counselor's position being funded?
The outreach
Yeah,
position?
outreach.
I'm
social-
hopeful, I'm always hopeful.
I know you're hopeful, I'm saying how confident.
I don't know that I have a percentage of confidence. I do know that the library is,
You've been talking
True.
about it since I've been on the board. so-
yeah, I've been talking about it for a long time. I do know that this is something that we've gotten feedback from not just the library board, but the equity commission also on the need to market more. I don't think that council would be opposed to the idea. I think it would be more of a logistical thing. What can we fund, and what can we hold off on, you know? So, if it came down to, you know, well, we need to fund this other thing because it's more urgent, then it wouldn't get funded, so. I mean, I don't ever feel like they think this is ridiculous, this is frivolous, y'all are just asking crazy stuff. I always think they're really supportive about it, but they also have to make those hard decisions, you know, do we buy another, I don't know, fire hydrant, or do we fund this position? So, yeah. So I totally didn't answer your question at all. Yay!
I noticed that, but that's okay.
I say we have a 50-50 chance, George.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, just a quick comment. If it looks like I'm distracted or being rude, I'm typing on my merit badge stuff. So I apologize in advance. I promise I'm listening. I think this is very exciting.
Well, good. You'll make a great liaison.
Yeah, you would. You really would.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I don't know if do you go to one of the high schools here? Or, okay.
Rising ninth grade for Hendrickson, there's our contact info.
Oh, perfect, thank you. Yeah, because I was going to say that we also have had liaisons who are homeschooled. I didn't know if you were homeschooled or not, so, yeah. All right. Questions? Did I include everything that you were hoping that I would include in the 5-year plan?
Yes.
Okay. I try.
Everything and more.
Well, I would put more in it. Yeah.
We didn't, there wasn't anything that we didn't cover in the Aspire plan, was there? I didn't think there would be, but it doesn't.
No.
If they're not in order, it's hard to
There
know.
were no other goals in the Aspire plan that didn't have something that corresponded with what we do or what we're planning on doing. So, no, it actually fit together really well. Sometimes there are goals that we have that they haven't. They haven't corresponded with, but not the other way around. So we just have more goals because we like to do that. We're overachievers. Okay.
If there are no other items of business, is anyone to make a move to adjourn? Second?
Second.
Okay, we are adjourned at 6:54.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for